gathered around 20 climate advocates from around 8 different countries to help them develop a European network of young leaders, and the overall aim is, of course, to help them develop their projects for implementation next year through meeting with experts, through meeting with each other and sharing ideas, sharing best practice from their home countries, and so on. The main purpose is to build that network so they in the future can use each other and do cooler, even cooler projects in the future, and maybe find work through a partner in Greece, in Norway, in the UK, of course, and also to build those really strong projects that can really do a difference when it comes to climate change.
I work as a facilitator here with the British Council. It's my second time around, and it's a great project. It's wonderful to see all these young but also quite experienced and intelligent people that thrive on saving the world by climate. So it's a very positive project to be involved with. It's very interesting to see that when you pick people from all the different places around Europe, they have something in common. They have something, an urge. They have something that is very important to them, and they want to do it now. They want to combat climate change, and this group is talking about doing that through food, and that's a good digestion for anyone.
Hi, my name is Fintan Keenan. I'm a climate advocate on the Challenge Europe project in Denmark, and my project is Food for Thought, which is establishing a farmers market in Copenhagen to see if it's feasible to have a farmers market, and are there enough local organic suppliers to be able to run a farmers market on a weekly basis, starting off on a monthly basis, but hopefully expanding into a weekly basis as time progresses. What inspired me to set up this challenge was going to an organic festival of food in Copenhagen in August and seeing the wide variety of local organic produce and the demand that there was, and the surprise on people's faces when they could see how amazing and what food that we could grow in Denmark, and they couldn't realize. They were like, is that food from Spain? And I was like, no, it's from Denmark. So we wanted to raise awareness by having a farmers market and having locally grown fresh organic produce, thereby reducing carbon emissions. So that's what really inspired us to do this, and also to show people what can be done and what we can do as a nation, basically, in Denmark, rather than having to import produce from Spain, from Turkey, from Israel, potatoes, for example. So, yeah, to make us more resilient in the face of climate change.
The London Food Board is an initiative which was set up by, in fact, the previous mayor, so it's about 5 years old now, and its aim was to bring good, sustainable, healthy food to Londoners and to try to work with the local procurement. We do a lot of work with local growing, we work with schools, we work with hospitals, we work with areas of the city where there's very little in the way of fresh fruit and vegetables, food deserts, as we call it. So it goes right across the board in terms of what we do and the projects that we engage in. And one of the ones, I suppose, that's nearest to my heart is the Capital Growth Project, which was the first thing that I launched with the mayor, and that is to create the new 2012 growing spaces, because I'm a passionate believer that not only does that get you a certain amount of good fresh food for yourself, but it's also very, very good for your community, for your area, for climate change, for all sorts of things, and that it's a lovely, lovely project to be involved in.
What would you see as the biggest challenge of today to a more sustainable and more healthy fresh food?
I think that the really big conglomerates are a big obstacle to it. I think that just the sheer size of the multinationals means that they're quite honestly above governments, really above the World Trade Organizations, and that it's a sort of rape of the world that goes on to ensure that the Western world gets a never-ending supply of cheap food. And I think the cheap food has come at a price. It's come at a price for Western health, which is deteriorating for the first time in kind of ever, really. It's going downhill again. And it's come at a price for a lot of the developed world, which has been forced to become unsustainable themselves, that they're growing crops they wouldn't naturally grow, they're growing crops entirely for export, and they're having to import foods that before they wouldn't have needed to. So we're adding tremendous stresses and strains to the world, to the environment of the world through the way we produce our food. And we are using up oil at a huge rate, we are using up water at a disastrous rate, and a lot of 70% of our water goes on irrigation, and we are eating too much meat. The thing is kind of out of control, and unless we bring it back to size, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying that everything can be grown within the borders of a country, because we'll probably always want our bananas and our nuts and our tea and our coffee run through the Fair Trade Organization, but there are some absolutely senseless kind of imports and exports which can be avoided, and that's where we need to aim for, so that there's a kind of balance in the system and it's not dominated by these giant food chains.